Yes. There are 2 items in the agenda today about Fortran-lang and how to organize it. It was proposed by Sebastian. And also, if they are GSoC student, if they could provide maybe a short summary of the project, and would be nice. I don't know who is there. Just.
So I've seen Henil, but other than that, I think there's only him here.
Okay. Yeah, either way, Sebastian, as you prefer, you may start with.
Yeah, sure. I think we talked about this in the last meeting already, or at least briefly discussed the topic of having a more formal organization around Fortran-lang. And the 2 options we were discussing them were, I think the first was to organize over NumFocus, like we're doing right now with Fortran. And the other option was suggested by John to have Fortran-lang organized under the BCS. I think I had some short outline for this post in this course. I can quickly bring this up. Yeah, so I think that's basically it. What I have for this. So if we decide to organize in a NumFocus, there's a deadline at the 15th January next year for application to go in. And the other alternative, I think there's no strict timeline if you want to organize under the BCS. However, it would be useful to have to use the upcoming meeting to discuss in person. I think Lawrence will be there. So any thoughts on this?
Do we know about any positives or negatives for either organization?
I can only speak for the bit of research that I did for NumFocus when we were trying to figure out the legal stuff. And it seemed to be just the easiest thing all around. It's not the most profitable in that sense for us, given that the percentage that they take, but I think everyone agreed that it's a fair percentage, given that they give us free legal counsel. Yeah, I don't know about what BCS offers. So hopefully, John, you can shed some light in that. But I believe that NumFocus was a very good solution for people that have no idea how to set up companies and or don't want to bother hiring accountants and doing all this work, which is us. Yeah. So I think NumFocus seems appealing. We have to do the application. I think I offered to do a lot of the work behind that. But again, it depends on what the actual work is. I think Andre knows best, given that he had to do it for Fortran. Yeah, so that's the only insights that I have. I'll go to the thread in the discourse to remind myself.
Okay, thanks. John, could you speak to anything about if we wanted to go the BCS route? Oh, we cannot hear you. Still got nothing.
We don't hear you, John.
Yeah, I think he's trying to figure it out.
Yes.
Oh, now we lost him. Maybe he'll be back in a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, I think also to make a choice, it's maybe important that we know what we really want with that also.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what are the pros and the cons of both of them.
I would guess that in general, I don't know if any of the options that we currently have, but ideally the unicorn would be a no hassle solution. So we don't have to worry about what the NGO side of things does.
Mhm.
If something goes wrong, we have someone to take care of that. But we hopefully are not directly paying. That, at least for me, that would be the easiest solution, the ideal solution.
Yeah, I think the idea is to have some vehicle, some avenue of accepting funds for various projects or in whatever fashion somebody wants to give donations, and then not have to organize our own, who's in charge of the bank accounts, who's doing all the managerial and accounting stuff, et cetera, et cetera. Just have something set up so that all that gets taken care of.
Especially for the taxes side of things, because we can justify, for example, in the UK, you can justify a thing up until £80,000 of but then you have to start worrying, which is why people can't use GitHub sponsors necessarily as their main source of income, because then that starts to become a problem, and they have to pay taxes in both the US and the UK. Anyway, I think, I think there are some, tide lift is another solution, although it's not very organization based. It's more project based. I've registered the Fortran language server with tide lift. Not that it matters really, that I don't receive any funds. I don't have any actual technical support. It's in case I did it rather for the security aspect of things, for if an organization like NASA wants to use it, they can deal with tide lift, not me. Yeah, Milan.
Yeah, has there been a need so far to be able to receive and manage funds, or is this more an anticipatory move?
We frequently get questions about it, so it's never been urgent, but it's at some point it will be, and better to start getting things set up before it's super urgent.
Okay, so we don't yet have some big funder who wants to fund but doesn't have a way. It's more like, okay, let's prepare so that we can receive small funds from here and there should they arise.
Yeah, actually, there is a need.
Yeah, I don't know how much we're at liberty to say just yet. So hold off on any.
So at the moment, it is possible to move everything where we need organization to the Fortran one, and since we are since Fortran is due to Andre very close to Fortran-lang, it's kind of easy to move funds around between Fortran and Fortran-lang. However, for the outside representation in the long term, it might be preferable to also have a Fortran-lang official organization which can handle this kind of things.
So yeah, shortly there is already a need. Small need, but still there. John, you are back. Could you?
We
don't
still
hear
do
you.
not hear you.
No.
You have an alternative microphone possibly you could select, or
Still not working. No. Is he frozen or?
maybe?
Yeah, we lost him.
Well,
It's like
we got video back.
Okay,
still
Still no audio.
still, unfortunately.
not. Yeah, annoying. Still not.
And now we did lose him again.
I think the other important aspect to go back to discussion is that we have some kind of legal representation.
Mhm.
I mean, beside having the possibility to get funding or have sponsors send us money, being able to have some organization to back up a project is probably the most important thing we want to get from this.
Yes, but does it matter if it's based in the US or
This
otherwise?
can matter. I don't know how much. So I think there are funders which will only give money and funding to US-based organizations. And on the other hand, we might arrive in a situation where we get funding from Europe and have also a restrictive view whether a country is. So wherever our location is based in maybe EU country or not. This could also be an issue. I don't know if this is then really relevant, and it might be even beneficial to have Fortran as one based in the US and have then another Europe-based organization in case something like this comes up. So we have both options.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah. I would just add that all the experience that I have with funding and organizations wishing and institutions wishing to fund projects have been from the US solely, in my experience. And the fact that I was not in the US was always the bottleneck. So yeah, I don't know what fund. I mean, in the EU, it's the European Union, I suppose, that gives the grants. Yeah. Oh, we have John back.
I'm going to try talking again.
Oh,
I can hear you this time.
Yes.
Hooray! Yeah, something was capturing my audio. I don't know what it was. I just had to reboot, start again.
Yeah.
That was the easiest thing. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so I've just been catching bits of what you've been saying about actually needing revenue streams. I guess the first thing I should say is it's not really an either or option. I mean, the BCS is here for you anyway. So even if you feel the need to go for somewhere else for what you might call administrative help or financial assistance, we can still be here to cater for other things, even if it's just running events and providing sponsorship indirectly. But that's what this group is for. It's been around since the 1970s. So, you know, I think you should be availing of it to some extent. At least people that are based in the UK, it's convenient at the very least. But that's not to say it's not an international organization, and you know, we're happy to run conferences and all sorts of things. And our committee has been sponsoring the Fortran-Con meetings, or at least helping out with those. So you know, I'm basically saying we're here to help. That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you feel that, you know, NumFocus or something else provides a better wrapper, well, that's good. I mean, but it doesn't preclude you being a part of what Fortran Specialist Group is doing in BCS.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you were there, but Sebastian also mentioned legal. Yeah, it would be good to, in addition to the administration and to the funding, it's also important to have a legal representation. Does BCS could offer that? Or?
Well, I mean, they do have a legal department. I don't think we've ever needed it for anything. I mean, would this be advice with intellectual property, or I mean, can anyone say without spilling any beans?
Yeah, I think IP infringement, any potential DMCA takedowns, which is the thing that happened with SimPy a few months ago.
Okay.
So that they basically someone issued a DMCA takedown, and they took down their entire website.
Yep.
GitHub.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had to fight it basically, and it was an erroneous
Yeah, of course.
claim.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Yeah.
But stuff like that, I guess I mean, we're not doing anything nefarious, definitely. And we're open source. Like we've done, it's not that we would get away with something, even if we wanted to. And the solutions that we are already looking, for example, NumFocus is for open source. Like if there is a requirement for us to be open source.
The NumFocus requirement is to be both open source. So you need to have an open source community. You have to adhere to the so I think there's something like a open source community standard which they are setting as a default, which we are pretty much covering with what we have. But they're also requiring that the software so the project they're supporting is scientifically relevant, which is truly which is definitely true for Fortran.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So would BCS be able to provide the legal structure for Fortran-lang to receive to receive funds and donations?
Yes, I mean that's normally that's normally its main function. So it operates. I mean, it's a membership group. So essentially, what happens is people join, the money's put into a central pool. Because people are members of different specialist groups, the specialist groups then have to sort of not quite compete, but you have to apply for the funding money to come back to you, and then you develop a rolling budget, which at the moment actually is on a month-to-month basis. So you can, you know, if you've got an event coming up or anything that particularly needs funding, that can be provided. I mean, typically our budgets have been very low because we only run typically one event a year. Since we've moved online, most of the costs are now borne elsewhere. I use my organization to host Zoom meetings, for example. So the license costs are being met elsewhere.
Yeah. And is there a time frame that we should have in mind if we wish to go with BCS and like register with you and do all the things that we discussed in the call? So is there a tight time frame? Any sorts of requirements?
No. So I mean, our AGM is coming up next week, and so what I propose as the chair, I will raise this as an item on the agenda. I don't think anyone's going to disapprove. What we'll then do is we will go away and ask BCS if they can provide the legal support that you need. So that's one arm of it, and two, whether we can gather funds through mechanisms other than membership fees, because I guess that's what you may want to do. You might want sponsorships and other funds to come in elsewhere. So I think we should just go away and just sort of do a bit of due diligence to see what we can provide for you. But other than that, I wouldn't say there's any time frame as such. I mean, I'm happy to go away and investigate this for you. And otherwise, you're welcome to join anyway. I mean, it's, in principle, anyone can join. You don't have to be a member of the BCS, but it doesn't get you anything. It just gets you onto a mailing list effectively. Because our meetings are open anyway. So, you're not really getting much. But, I would say, if I have to wear a sort of, or champion the BCS, if you are in the UK, then at least you can avail of local meetings and, attend things and start networking and get some value for your membership fee. But I think if you're far removed from the UK, then I don't think the money is necessarily going to do you much good.
Thank you. So I think that covers all the questions that I had, at least. Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, I think one thing which we would need from organization is the possibility to receive money, which can be sponsorships, which can be funding from any organization. And we also have to distribute this money further, which can mean something like a contract work, where we have to employ somebody, set up a contract, get everything sorted out. This can, for example, happen with the Google Season of Docs, which was also done in Fortran. They're receiving money to hire a technical writer, and this has to then be organized. So I think Andre actually did this all through the stuff from the NumFocus organization. So yeah, this would be something that's probably going to come up regularly. I think there's from GSoC, there's also a stipendium which is or some funding which is going to the organization which registers. So yeah, there will be on a regular basis things we have to take care of, where we have to set up contracts, pay out people. Then the question is, I mean, this obviously needs somebody who is dedicated to do this. And if you have such a position, there also has to be funded. And in NumFocus, this, as far as I understand, happens by the service fee from all donations. One thing I discussed with Andre is, and I think this already works for the things which come in from Google, so the Summer of Code and the Season of Docs, where the service fee is not deducted from those, because they only pass through the organization. Because it would be kind of, I mean, just to passing through the money, it would, of course, it's understandable, it's still work. But if you have like a large chunk of money and have to give 15% away, and then hire somebody who is then again paying taxes on this, this might not make everybody happy, especially the funder.
Sebastian, can you explain that part again about pass-through for the GSoC money? Pass-through to whom? I thought the money just landed into the Fortran account and stayed there.
Yes, this is currently what happens. But there was also a Season of Docs. There you get the money up front, and then you have to hire someone.
Okay.
And this money, and I think for this money, they managed to not apply the service fee. So for every larger position, I mean, Season of Docs was, I think, around 30 to 40,000 euros, having a 50% service fee before you can hire somebody might make it a bit more difficult than necessary. But yes, this is something we have to figure out. I don't know how this is going to work with the BCS, but I don't think realistically the service can be provided for free.
Any other question or comment? Yeah, I think if there is a need for something like that, it's mainly for such scenario where you get money and we need to redistribute it across people. Just a thing, Sebastian, I don't know how it goes with the GSoC student, for example. Is it a contract that you have to sign with them, or is it then they send an invoice?
GSoC and the season of docs are a bit different. In GSoC, this is directly handled by Google.
Okay.
So there's no intermediary organization involved. And in the season of docs, it's different. Yeah, the money is given to the organization. The organization is responsible for paying somebody.
Yeah, but is it through invoice, or does the student send an invoice, then you have to pay back, or do you sign a contract and then you pay a salary?
I'm actually not sure how this works. I think GSoC is more a stipend rather than a contract.
Okay. Yeah, it might make some difference for the administration and legal stuff, I guess.
Yeah, but of course, this gives us already two very different use cases for this account. One where we don't have to care much about getting our contributors to receive their money. One where we have to be active, also setting up contracts.
Yeah, yes, that, but also for the legal stuff. I mean, if you are an employer or not. I guess if you just get an invoice and you pay something, you're not an employee. That's
Yeah,
the right
exactly.
thing. So that's.
I think in those cases, this was contract work. So the technical writers are employed as freelancers. So we are not directly responsible as an employer in this case.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Any other question or comment?
Where do you think most of the activities are going to take place? In what jurisdiction? Is it mostly EU? Is it mostly US? Is it a combination of the two?
Depends. Right here, I mean, I guess half of us are currently based in the EU. The rest is mostly based in US, and there's also here from India. So we also have a community in China. So it's kind of difficult to say where the funding is coming from. But we should be prepared for accepting both funding based from the EU and the US, as is where most members are currently active. But in the future, I would presume that we can, especially once we started getting funded by a bigger organization or government, then we might have a chance to get more funding.
Yeah, I mean, I was mostly thinking about the employment side of things, because that's where the legislation is going to potentially trip you up. And also, if you want charitable status, your activities might be quite closely governed as well. So depending on your tax status, I mean, it is, you know, I can see why you want a wrapper for sure, but getting a global wrapper might be a big ask. You know, you might have to instantiate yourselves in separate jurisdictions and handle things that way.
So so maybe it might be worth to explore both, to register us under NumFocus, and maybe also try to organize with the BCS. Then we would have most flexibility.
Yep.
Questions whether this is going to produce a significant overhead for us. Also, if we have at some point have funds which we have to move around, I don't know whether this is easy if you can just shift them from something like the Fortran-lang focus organization to the BCS or the other way around. Without,
I'll go away and ask the questions. I think that's the thing to do. See what they can do for us.
Yeah, good idea. Thank you. Maybe something.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, thank you, John. Another thing, yeah, you mentioned NumFocus. Could not be also possible to try to merge with Fortran somehow to avoid to have a duplication between Fortran and if we go for NumFocus?
I think that might be, I mean, that ultimately, I suppose that's understood, but I would guess that if Fortran were to merge with anything, it would be with compilers, which is the Python and Fortran currently fall in that category. It's just Fortran is separate, I suppose, because it has a pretty big following already. But
Is compilers on NumFocus org?
No, it is not. But I suppose so. They had GSoC students for Python. So compilers is the organization on GitHub, and they had GSoC students for Python for some language server stuff that I came in and out every once in a while to help them. So yeah, I suppose that the compilers family will potentially grow in the future. So we might not be able to, like the Fortran and Fortran, the Fortran-lang, sorry, and Fortran might not have a common intersection.
Okay, that's also just a question. Maybe I understood your point. Yeah. Any other comment? Yes, Sebastian?
I mean, the other question would be at the point where we decide we want to have a formal organization. We might have to think about establishing a more formal organizational lead and also a mechanism to get some feedback from the community. So maybe having something like an election based on all active maintainers and the mechanism to become a maintainer. So we have at least some formal structure. I think Andre usually has at least I've seen it's for Fortran that there's a short guideline on how decisions are handled, how they are reached. Maybe we need to formalize this a bit more. I mean, right now, we established administrators which are responsible for keeping the infrastructure in place. So whether this should then extend to be responsible for also keeping contact with the host organization and setting up funding discussions and things like this. I don't know.
Would such things not define within the status of whatever organization or wrapper that we will have or that we want to set up?
I mean, it's more thing for us to decide who is responsible and how to make it in a way transparent for everybody in the community. So who is going to take a lead on such decisions, and how this position was elected in the first place.
I would say that transparency might not necessarily be a requirement for that. As in, it is a decision that mostly affects the internal structure of the organization, and it has to do with administrative work rather than open source contributions. So I understand the want for us to abide by open source principles, but ultimately, if we're talking about a company, we should think in company terms first, and then in software engineering terms. So yeah, I wouldn't be too quick to say that we're gonna disclose everything publicly. Everything is going to be for everyone to review. Some stuff might not be possible, or it might be too expensive time-wise or money-wise to do so. So just yeah, I would just like to mention that.
I think the transparency aspect is more important for building trust with the community rather than the requirement. And so I would favor and push for transparency as much as we can for that reason.
Yeah, I agree with Milan too. Other comment on that? No. Yeah, so if there's no other comment on this topic, then I expect John to give a feedback on within 1 month on the next meeting call. Yeah, we'll try to remember. And then on our side, who will ask for NumFocus? Sebastian or Giannis? Not sure.
I can ask NumFocus or Andre, or both probably. What would it take to get us started? As in, they have instructions on the webpage, but I think they're very generic. But sure, I'll do that.
Yeah, good. Okay, thank you then. Thank you, John, also for that. Then there was another topic which was about the GSoC and an update on the project. I think, Henil, you're the only one here, right? If you, I know it's on a short notice, so if you have no time or if you don't feel prepared for that, feel free to refuse. Up to you.
No, sir, we are good with it, sir.
Yeah. So
Hello everyone, my name is Henil Panchal and I had been GSoC contributor to the Fortran-lang this year, and with the guidance of my mentor Sebastian sir and Rohit Goswami, we had been able to complete the entire porting of the existing Fortran-lang page to this Phoenix. And this project has been quite a successful due to the guidance of my mentors, and we have also added the translations of in various different languages, up to 8 to 10 languages, and also we have increased the decreased the build time of the site. So we have increased the efficiency, as well as you can also verify the SEO ratings of the site. We have also monitored them and improved them a lot. We have generally ranged it to 95 plus ratings. And in addition to that, we have ported the entire documentations with in the best possible way without making sort of any discrepancies with the mist. And we have also added a new contributor graph to it, which has been hosted. Currently, it has been hosted with Vercel, but we are considering to shift it to the GitHub pages as well. And I'm grateful for the help and the welcome this community has given me, and it was a very memorable experience with me. Thank you for attending.
Thank you for this presentation. Thank you for the work that you did. Any question for Henil?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Yeah, it was very nice to see it. I see Ashirwad. I'm not sure if I pronounced your name correctly. Sorry for that. Do you want to present something?
That was right. That was perfectly fine. Thank you for having me here. For those of you unfamiliar with me, hi, I'm Ashirwad Mishra, and I'm from India. I'm a final year computer science major at Vellore Institute of Technology. And this summer, I was working as a GSoC contributor to develop a playground for Fortran-lang. The aim of this project was to create a playground that helps us showcase the features of the language, which will help us ease onboarding for language newcomers. We were also able to integrate FPM into the playground, which means we can offer library support for any project that can be built by FPM. As of now, we only support Fortran standard library, but that can be expanded very easily. The project was mainly made using three technologies: React, Flask, and Docker, where React served as the front-end build for our application. We used Ace editor as the main editor for editing code and providing inputs and all of that stuff. And the backend is a Python Flask API that takes in input from the user and runs user code on a Docker container. We use Docker containers to sandbox our code and provide an isolated environment for executions. We use Fortran as the main compiler right now, but that is, since this is a prototype build, we are keen to expand a lot of the features, which is built using FPM, and the output is captured from std out and delivered as the response, which is then rendered by our React app. So that was a technical summary of how everything works. We mainly want to showcase the features using the playground and help ease things for the people, provide sort of a convenience for anyone that wants to try out a new library or wants to explore Fortran. That's what the tutorial is there for. I would like to thank my mentors, Milan and Brad, for their constant support during development and their guidance. I would also like to extend thanks to Arjun, who provided feedback on every front. And he actually helped me get better at Fortran because he taught me about the little things that I did not know. And as Henil said, the Fortran-lang community was very welcoming, and I would like to thank all of you for that. And it was a great experience for me, and we were able to accomplish something good.
Thanks, Ashirwad. This was a great contribution. We're glad to have it.
Thanks, Ashirwad. Likewise.
Yeah, thank you.
Has anybody here, and I know Sebastian, but anybody else try to play with a playground?
Yes, I play a bit with it. It was nice. Also, the introduction of the support of the standard library is also really great, I think. Can test things.
Yeah, same. It was very nice. I had a question, which I understand you might not have the answer to. Whether or not the online editor you use allows for the language server protocol to spawn inside, like it understands language server protocol.
Ace editor does not readily support that. Like for that, we'd have to use Monaco and stuff, but it does support auto-completion. We can have auto-completion with basic syntaxes, not the complete LSP features, but some minor features that help us, complete some of the code. not specific to Fortran, but just like some repeated elements can be easily entered if we turn it off. So that can be accomplished.
Still very good. Very good job. Congrats.
If I may add, I've been using it on Windows. It took a bit of getting all the pieces together, but it really does work also on Windows, and that's quite an achievement, I think.
Yes, I think most of the issues were due to the different packages which we were using, but on the production build, I think we have simplified most of that stuff. So most people won't have to worry about that. We can easily upgrade those features as well. My guess is for the front end at least. Backend would still require a restart every time we do it. As of now, of course.
Again, thank you for the job and great work both. Any other question for them? If not, thank you, and hopefully you will stay in the community. You're both welcome. Thank you for that. Are there any other business? No. No. If not, I propose to close the meeting, and then we'll see within 1 month.